Hi guys, and welcome back to Brexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, language not dissimilar to that being used in 1930s Germany has sent this country into a tailspin. Gary Lineker has accused the speech by Cruella de Braveman of being something that Joseph Goebbels or Adolf Hitler would be proud of. And the right-wing media have gone absolutely crazy. They're calling for Gary Lineker to be sacked. And they're saying, well, he called us Nazis. How dare he call us Nazis? And he's getting paid by the taxpayer. He's not allowed to call us Nazis. When he's getting paid by the taxpayer, he should be sacked. Now, the problem is that so many people actually agree with what Gary Lineker said. And I would say to these people, be careful of what you're asking for, because, if the BBC do sack him, he probably can get a job on ITV quite easily. Well, they don't know, a weekly football show, but he could probably get a job on Sky also. And, when he's on one of those places, he can say as he wants, because, he will still be Gary Lineker and he will still have over 8 million people on his Twitter. And that's what, this has really, it's really got to quite a lot of them. We've had Joan Salter, who is a Holocaust survivor. And Joan Salter come out yesterday morning and said, well, I agree with Gary Lineker. And she was there in the 1930s, right? Because she's 90 odd years old. So she was there in the 1930s, right? To hear the words herself, right? Because she's a Holocaust survivor. So therefore, right, I'm going to take every single piece of advice about what Gary Lineker said from Joan Salter. I'm not going to take it from honest Bob Jenrick. Honest Bob Jenrick has called for Gary Lineker to be sacked. You think, are you serious? Honest Bob Jenrick, of all people, a man who tried to defraud the UK public taxpayer of £40 million, is sat there now talking about how Gary Lineker, who gets paid by the taxpayer. I'm saying, well, hold on a minute. Do you really care about what the taxpayer thinks when you try to steal £40 million from the taxpayer? This man, right, should have been sacked a long time ago, right? Because he's a disgrace. He's a thief, right? He is an absolute thief, right? And he's an incompetent fool, right? Who should have been sacked a long time ago. He's got the liberty to be calling for Gary Lineker to be sacked. Honest Bob Jenrick, of all people, right? He's a fucking criminal. That's what he is, right? And look, the head of the BBC, again, this is obviously who Gary Lineker might have to deal with. This is the man who who got Boris Johnson the £800,000 line of credit, right? And then was given the job as chairman all of a sudden. And the level of corruption in the BBC, and they tell their people straight, don't hold these politicians' feet to the ground. You can't do it. Don't do it. But obviously there's a lot of pressure coming from the government, because the government would just be like, we're gonna cancel the TV license. Right, so the BBC is fighting against all that type of thing. And, the BBC is probably the fairest organisation out there, right? Even though, right, they say, well, it's all stuff with all lefties, right? But when you actually look into it, right, most of the people that are head of the BBC, these guys are all Tories. A lot of them far right Tories. And don't forget the lefty lawyers, the lefty civil servants, and the Labour Party is blocking this bill, according to Cruella de Braveman. But you see, this bill was never about, anything to do with the migrants or nothing like that. No, man, come on, be serious. This was all to do with getting Labour to try and block it so that they can say, well, look at us. Look what we're doing. We're trying our hardest here to look out for your interest, to try and keep these black and brown faces away from you so you don't have to look at them. Look who's blocking us. The Labour Party's blocking us, along with all these lefty lawyers and these lefty civil servants. How the fuck you attack the civil servants in this way, right? And you know the police have already said to Cruella de Braveman, listen, you need to hold your language down because there's lawyers, there's lawyers out there who are being attacked for just doing their job. Right? Everybody, however you look at it, everybody, right, needs to have legal cover. You know, if you're going to be deporting people like this, or you're trying to deport people, then those people need to have lawyers. You know, you can't just deport people without hearing their case. They've got to have lawyers, and she's putting it on them now and making those lawyers get attacked. Right, so all of this is literally, and then they're saying, well, but you can't call us Nazis, and all of that is directly out of the Nazi playbook. What these guys are dealing with, right? When they're trying to shut down someone like Gary Lineker, so they're directly out of the Nazi playbook, right? Calling out, people who are there just doing their job to help people, because that's all they're doing. They're just doing their job. They're not doing it because they're not doing it to try and get on people's nerves. They're doing it because that's what their job is. Their job is to defend people. So that's why they're doing it. And then you've got the civil servants. She called the civil servants out as lefties, right? As if the civil servants haven't got enough problems as it is. But these people, when it comes down to it, they don't care about anything else, because, Cruella de Braveman will tell you about, 100 million people. I would love there to be 100 million people heading towards this country. I swear. Because what the fuck are they going to do? 100 million people heading, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? 100 million people. How are you going to stop them? Right? You could barely deal with the 45,000. Right? Imagine if 1 million come, they couldn't deal with it. About 100 million people, 100, and then the next day she's talking about billions in the newspapers. This, to her language, is completely unacceptable. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me. A special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up. So thank you so much for that. I'll go through all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all your messages for definite. And we're going to go straight over to America because I'm already 7 minutes in and I've got to be quick. Right. So we've got secret messages from Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson says he hates Donald Trump. Tucker Carlson said Donald Trump has... Tucker Carlson said all his businesses have failed. The only thing he's good for is destroying things. He called Donald Trump a demonic force and a destroyer. He said Donald Trump not attending Joe Biden's inauguration was corrosive. He said Donald Trump's behavior was disgusting over his election denial. It's reckless behavior. He was texting pictures of Rudy Giuliani with dye running down his face, and he said, "My mind is blown." That's what these people really think, right, of the Fox News, of the viewers, right? It's really disgusting. And Tucker Carlson is a man who will tell you how the media is lying to you, because he's on the media every night saying, oh, all it is because they hate Donald Trump. Secretly, he hates Donald Trump, right? This election was stolen from Donald Trump. He's telling people how crazy these motherfuckers are, right, for even saying that shit. Seriously. Let's go over to France, because President Macron will be pressing the British government. This is some Brexit, really. President Macron will be pressing the British government for more money. So more money, more money, more money. Right? Even though since 2014, the French have had over $250 million to help with the migrant crisis. And they said, you know what, between August last year and now, we have stopped 10,000 people. Well, they're fucking 45,000 have come over, motherfuckers. But President Macron's going to press them today to get more money. And let's speak about some real Brexit issues, because Astrazeneca have cancelled plans to build a factory in the north of England, and they've moved their plans over to Ireland to go and build their factory. And they say, why would they do something like that? Because Ireland's in the EU. Right? And AstraZeneca is not stupid. They was going to build their factory here and just say, you know what, we're just gonna struggle it out and just do our thing. But no, as soon as they find out about, you know what, the Ireland deal, Astrazeneca's like, oh, we can build our factory in Ireland. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to take all those jobs over to Ireland. Good on them, I say. The best thing they could do. And the final story, the Brexit deal could be cancelled if Britain leave the ECHR, because the EU is putting their foot down and saying, you can't deal with migrants like that, like you're a bunch of Nazis, and the talk is not dissimilar to what was going on in 1930s Germany. You, right, leave that shit, right, and that Brexit deal will be cancelled, motherfucker. Someone needs to say to the EU, listen, you need us more than we need you, right? And then something about the German car industry. Anyway, guys, look, I'm already over my time, so I'm going to bow out of here. This, my friends, is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.